On their way back from their wedding, in the car headed back home, crash. Our true story for today is a sad one with a few lessons to learn. Our story is about Superman and Sarah. Della was a woman who tried to do everything right. She lived her life to the best of her abilities. She had a kind heart. She met Timo, and he was everything she had ever dreamed of. He was kind, he was caring, he was compassionate, he took care of the ones he loved. He was her Superman. And Timo used to tell her that their kids would be as blessed as Abraham, and he would call her Sarah. They wanted to marry each other, that this was their chosen person. They, got to know each other, dated, and eventually met each other's family members. Della felt that Timo's mother didn't really like her, that she wasn't comfortable with her. But Timo calmed her down and said, look, I'm my parents' only child, I'm my mother's only child. That's why she's a little standoffish, but fear not, she'll love you eventually and everything will work out. So they proceeded and finally got to their wedding day. They shared their vows, they laughed, they cried, they had an amazing time, and they were ready to start their life together. On their way back from their wedding, in the car headed back home, crash, and lights out. Della wakes up in a hospital bed in agony, pain, and confusion. She has 3 questions. What happened? What is wrong with me? And where is my husband? The answers were not nice. They had crashed. She was in hospital with no feeling from the waist down, and her Superman, her husband Timo, had died. That moment is when Della felt it could get no worse. Eventually, her cousin comes to take her home, and this is the first time arriving at her marital home that she's in a wheelchair without her husband and no future in sight. She gets there and is packing things, looking through things, and discovers a gift left to her by Timo, intended for their wedding night. Car key with a note saying it was a brand new car for her to start their life together. She breaks down in tears because even in death, he's still taking care of her. But that wasn't going to last long. A few days later, Timo's family comes in. The mother, angry at all things, states that Della is the cause. She is the problem. She must be a witch, because how is it possible that the day she marries her son, he dies? Of course, Della is devastated because she didn't cause it, but it sure feels that way. Well, Timo's mother decides, and his whole family decides, that she must now bear the funeral traditions and widow traditions, including but not limited to spending 1 year wearing only black. She's not allowed to sleep in a room or in a bed with anybody. She must sleep alone. She must, when they wash the dead body, she must use that water to bath, as well as spend 1 whole night with the dead body alone. So that, amongst other things, Della was getting stressed, frustrated, tired, anxious, and scared. She was wheelchair bound, struggling with her own car crash injuries, and still forced to cater to relatives coming from out of town. And nothing she ever did was good enough. By some miracle, she pushes through to the funeral. She does all the rites, does her best to cater to everybody. And the night she spends alone with the dead body of her husband, she has the worst night of her life. Eventually, all funeral rites have passed. Della feels like finally she's done. She can send this family packing. They clearly didn't like her before. They definitely don't like her now. She needs a break. However, she decides that she also has to make sure that none of her husband's hard-earned money falls into the hands of the people who have been so wicked to her during this time. So she reaches out to a lawyer and tells him, this is my problem, this is what has happened, what can I do? The lawyer finds out that, unfortunately, your husband didn't have enough time to transfer his money and his properties and his ownings into your name. They are currently still in the name of his mother. As his only child, this was his thank you to her. At this point, Della is completely broken. She doesn't know what to do because kick me while you're down. So Timo's family comes in, knock, knock, knock on the door and tells her that, look, everything our son owns is ours and you are not family. Take your clothes and leave. They kick her out. Her house is no longer hers. Properties do not belong to her, and she gets none of the money. The only thing she has was the car he gave her as a gift that was in her name. She took that car and sold it, used the money to find something to wrap up all the loose ends and find a small accommodation for herself in the middle of nowhere. At this point, between her medical bills, her sick condition, and the funeral, and all the trauma that came with it, Della's not doing well, and she's struggling to wake up every morning. Little by little, her health begins to fail until one day, her body, mind, soul, emotions can handle it no more, and she passes away in her sleep with tears in her eyes. Eventually, our Superman and Sarah can finally have their love story, but it won't be on Earth. This is just a little bit of some of the things widows are forced to go through, even in this modern day Ghana. It should never happen. Death is bad enough. Why make it worse? Our hearts go out to others who have struggled in similar situations. To find out more about this story, follow us on nanaasempa.com, and we'll catch you in the next video. Reach out to all the widows you know.